Chester Bennington. I still remember the day, that crushing moment when the news of Chester Bennington's death paralyzed me completely. For months afterward, I wandered through a fog of disbelief and raw anger, unable to reconcile how someone whose voice had been a lifeline for so many could have been drowning himself. I wasn't just a fan mourning an artist, I felt betrayed by someone who had helped me survive my own darkness. His music became almost unbearable to hear, yet I found myself obsessively returning to it, discovering albums I'd overlooked, hearing his struggles with new, haunting clarity. The lyrics that once offered catharsis now carried the weight of terrible prophecy. Heartbreaking news shattered the music world on July 20th, 2017, when Chester Bennington, the powerful voice of Linkin Park, was found dead in his home in Palos Verdes Estates, California. He had died by suicide at the age of 41, leaving behind a wife, 6 children, and millions of fans who found solace in his unflinching lyrics about pain, trauma, and the struggle for belonging. Born Chester Charles Bennington on March 20th, 1976, in Phoenix, Arizona, his early life was marked by profound challenges. Bennington endured sexual abuse as a child and struggled with severe bullying in high school. These traumatic experiences, coupled with his parents' divorce when he was 11, led to struggles with substance abuse beginning in his teenage years. He would later channel these dark experiences into lyrics that resonated with a generation grappling with their own inner demons. Bennington's musical journey began in Arizona with his first band, Gray Days, formed in 1993. Though the band built a local following and released 2 albums, they never achieved widespread success. After their breakup in 1998, Bennington was working as a barista when an opportunity arose that would change his life and the landscape of modern rock music. Jeff Blue, vice president of A&R at Zomba Music, sent Bennington an audition tape from a band called Zero, who were seeking a new vocalist. Despite initial skepticism, Bennington recorded his vocals over the instrumental track, creating what would become the song Crawling, a track that would later win a Grammy Award. Impressed by his distinctive voice and emotional delivery, Zero members Mike Shinoda, Brad Delson, Dave Farrell, Joe Hahn, and Rob Borden invited Bennington to join their band. They renamed themselves Linkin Park and began crafting the sound that would define a generation. In October 2000, Linkin Park released their debut album, Hybrid Theory, which seamlessly blended nu metal, rap, and electronic elements. The album was an unprecedented success, becoming the best-selling debut album of the 21st century, and eventually reaching diamond certification for sales exceeding 10 million copies in the United States alone. Singles like One Step Closer, Crawling, and In the End dominated rock radio and MTV. Bennington's vocal performances were a central element of the band's appeal. His ability to transition from melodic vulnerability to raw, primal screams gave voice to the internal struggles of millions of listeners. His lyrics, often co-written with bandmate Mike Shinoda, spoke directly to experiences of alienation, depression, and the search for identity. The band's sophomore album, Meteora, 2003, continued their success, debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200 and producing hits like Somewhere I Belong, Breaking the Habit, and Numb. The album sold over 27 million copies worldwide, cementing Linkin Park's status as one of the defining bands of the era. As Linkin Park evolved, so did Bennington's artistic expression. The band's third album, Minutes to Midnight, 2007, marked a deliberate shift away from their nu metal roots toward a more alternative rock sound. Despite concerns about alienating their fan base, the album debuted at #1 in 16 countries. During this period, Bennington was courageously battling his personal demons. In various interviews, he spoke candidly about his struggles with depression and addiction.
Most people probably don't relate Linkin Park or myself with, alcoholism or drug addiction or anything like that. And, but that's a part of my life, and that's been a part of my life since I was a very young boy.
Despite these challenges, Bennington achieved sobriety for periods of his life and used his platform to raise awareness about mental health issues. His openness about his struggles helped destigmatize conversations about depression and addiction within the rock community. Beyond Linkin Park, Bennington explored other musical avenues. From 2013 to 2015, he fronted Stone Temple Pilots following Scott Weiland's departure. He also formed a side project called Dead by Sunrise, releasing one album, Out of Ashes, in 2009. Linkin Park continued to evolve with albums like 1,000 Suns, 2010, Living Things, 2012, and The Hunting Party, 2014. Their final album with Bennington, One More Light, 2017, represented their most significant stylistic shift, embracing a more pop-oriented sound. The album received mixed reviews from critics, but debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. Bennington was deeply affected by the death of his close friend, Soundgarden frontman Chris Cornell, who died by suicide on May 18, 2017. Bennington performed Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah at Cornell's funeral. Tragically, Bennington took his own life on what would have been Cornell's 53rd birthday, just 2 months later. According to the Los Angeles County Coroner's report, Bennington was found hanging at his home by his housekeeper. The autopsy confirmed suicide as the cause of death. In the aftermath of his death, bandmate Mike Shinoda reflected on Bennington's impact in an interview with Kerrang! He was a lion. He was just so passionate about everything he did, and he put 1,000% of himself into everything. Bennington's widow, Talinda, has become an advocate for mental health awareness, establishing the 320 Changes Direction initiative to help those struggling with mental health challenges. The organization was named after Chester's birth date, March 20th, and aims to change the culture surrounding mental health. Linkin Park established the One More Light Fund in Bennington's memory, supporting mental health organizations and suicide prevention efforts. In October 2017, the band held a tribute concert at the Hollywood Bowl, featuring performances by members of Bring Me the Horizon, System of a Down, and other artists paying homage to Bennington's legacy. Bennington's raw honesty about his personal struggles, expressed through both his lyrics and his public statements, helped countless fans feel less alone in their own battles. Who could forget the epic 17-second scream in the song, Given Up? From 2 minutes and 26 seconds until 2 minutes and 43 seconds, his voice doesn't waver. It dominates in a primal explosion of pain, defiance, and raw human agony. It's one of the longest screams in mainstream rock and metal, showcasing his incredible vocal stamina and raw emotional intensity. It's not only a vocal feat, but a ringing echo of a voice that refused to be silenced. A battle cry for every soul that's ever fought to be heard. Depression doesn't care about your platinum records or the roar of arenas filled with your fans. It doesn't care about your beautiful family or your millions in the bank. The darkness Chester articulated so vividly in his lyrics wasn't just art. It was his reality, one that many of us recognize in ourselves. His voice became the soundtrack to our own inner struggles, somehow making them easier to bear because we knew we weren't alone. Chester, you will never be forgotten, not just because your voice was unforgettable in its power, but because in sharing your pain so honestly, you helped the rest of us carry our own. If you've made it this far, thank you for staying and listening. I hope you enjoyed. If you love hearing about the lives and deaths of entertainment legends, subscribe for more untold stories that peek behind the curtain of Hollywood's greatest stars.